I was venting to my Uber driver yesterday.
You're venting to your Uber driver?
We were having today. I had two totally different Uber experiences yesterday and today. Today's was all the windows down, like full blown, like boom, boom, but like full on EDM. I accepted it. I was like, this is kind of sick. Okay, and then she would just put her hand out to feel the wind, and then she was just like we complete silence, just like full on rave in the car. Yesterday's was a full on life lesson from this man who was 72, and he was like talking about his family and his wife and how his sister went missing when she was 26 and didn't show up until she was 50, and how he's like, life is a roller coaster, goes up and down, and you have no idea what it's gonna throw at you. And he's saying you should be so grateful, you look so young, don't ever let anybody tell you you're old, this is that. And then he's like, me, like I'm 72, he's like, I remember when I was 15 years old, I looked out, I saw this man, and I was like, how old is that man, Mom? And then she was like, I don't know, I think he's like 51 or something. And he goes, 51? That is so old. And then he said he remembers when he turned 51, and he like flashed back to his 15-year-old self. I was like, whoa, like, where did the time go? Now I'm that old. I know. And then he was saying like, he was like, so where do you live and your roommates? And I was like, well, I'm moving out and I'm really sad because I'm gonna like miss my roommates a lot. And he said, what? Well, you actually like your roommates? And I was like, I do. And I was like, I do like my roommates. He's like, that's not common. I was like, yeah, it's true. Like,
it's actually not.
It's not.
Yeah.
I feel like we got really lucky in finding each other and being like actually happy roommates.
It's true. I was like, dude, he's got a point. Like, usually if you move in with people, you like find reasons to dislike them.
By
I'm
the
like,
end, it's like, thank God I'm gone.
I'm out. That's a good time. But like, but I'm like, wait a minute. He's like, you really mean that? He's like, that's not common. That means you found a good group of people. So I was like, yeah. And then there's life lessons after life lessons. And we just kept yapping and yapping.
I never yapped to the driver. I get
but what if they ask you? Like, he wasn't someone I was going to, but then he kept asking me questions.
And there's like a setting in the Uber app that's like, do you prefer conversation? And you're like, yes or no.
Yeah. Hard no.
I don't know. I think I
no.
Half the time they ignore that.
I don't know if I have that on.
I have mine as a default as a no, but I will just talk forever. So like, it's kind of like up to them at that point.
Well, then he started asking me about Wi-Fi because I told him that I was in an event for Samsung, and he's like, oh, so you know some tech stuff. I was like, yeah, I like kind of I told him I work for Samsung because I didn't want to get into it. But then he's like, okay, well, let me explain to you. So I have a router at home. If I turn off the internet for that, will my phone stop working? He's like, and I was like, no, it should be fine because like you have a different phone plan. He's like, yes, but like, what about my phone, my modem? And I was like, well, when you go home, do you connect to the Wi-Fi? And he's like, well, I know how to turn on Wi-Fi. That's not the question I'm asking. And I was like, okay. He's like, that's not very helpful. And I'm like, okay, sir. So we kind of got into a little, at the end I said, can you pull over the car? And I said, here, let me show you what I mean. And I'm like showing him, he's like, never mind, I'll call T-Mobile. And I'm like, okay, well, have a great day.
You should have been like, joke's on you, I'm the CEO.
That's crazy.
Okay, and he got tense in the
I'll
car.
have you know.
I was so
This
shocked.
is the same conversation
Same guy.
that was like heartfelt.
Same
How long was the drive?
40 minutes.
Wait,
No,
Huh?
Is that how
it ended kind of tense, but it ended like tense, but like, hey, great talk, like hope we, like, enjoy life, and it was a great talk. I was like, you too.
Did your rating go up or down?
I didn't check. But I was like, I'm trying to help you here, but he's like, you're not being helpful. I'm like,
That's so.
I'm sorry, I'm not technical support.
Shout out that guy, bro. He stood his ground.
That's so crazy.
I need a movie on your life. That is
Dude,
That's
I
crazy.
really
wild talk.
Have you ever thought writing a book? I feel like your life story would be such a funny book.
Yeah, maybe.
like, that's so comedic to have something so heartfelt, and it's like,
It was insane.
you know what? I'm just gonna call T-Mobile.
I
Get
was
out.
offended. I was offended because I was really trying to help out the man.
Bro really just told you to shut up.
The menu.
Just,
I
no.
said, that is not helpful. Okay, sir.
That's crazy.
Like,
So it went from really wholesome to kind of toxic to like an abrupt end. Okay.
Yeah, but it ended on a good note, like, yay, But I was still like, damn, I tried. And I got kind of like, I started stuttering because he made me nervous because I was like, well, okay, so you go home and you with the modem and you do, and he's like, what? And he's just like coming at me, and he's not trying to like work with me. He was trying to like, that is not helpful. I'm like, I am here. I am in your car. I'm not the technical. He's asking like he called AT&T or whatever, and I'm like the guy on the line, and I'm like, I'm not that guy, but I'm trying to do my best. Sorry,
I'm not that guy.
I don't know. Whatever. But it was up until then it was like really good 30 minutes, and I was like, wow, I did not expect life.
So the final 10 minutes just went horribly wrong.
Oh yeah,
somebody said Ray would finally read. I would read your book, and I don't read. So.
I would write maybe when I'm older, a little older. He said he found his sister dead on the floor.
Oh.
Yeah, he had a crazy life. His sister went missing when she was 26, just like, and then didn't come back until she was 53 or something, and then like came back, and then his mom wouldn't talk to her, and he had to try like bridge this gap between them, and then he like, I don't know, I think it was like drugs, but he found her on the floor, and then he was like, life just comes at you. You never know what's gonna happen.
That is so true.
Yeah, and he's like, I'm divorced. He's like, because I was like, oh, because he's like, will you be living alone? I was like, I will. I was like, he's like, will you like that? I was like, I've lived alone before. It was nice. And then I was like, what about you? And he's like, what about me? I was like, oh, do you live? And he's like, alone? Yes, I am divorced. And I was like, well, how's that? He's like, being divorced or living alone? I was like, well, you know, just living alone and stuff. Doing story. He's like, I like it.
How
I like
did you
it.
get in these conversations with an Uber
Dude,
driver? I'm so confused.
Dude,
he started kind of digging deep. He's like, I'm born and raised Los Angeles. He was trying to quiz me on how well I knew LA, because he's like,
what is going on?
I feel like you two were just arguing.
No,
It was like,
it was tense moments, and then we find a sweet pocket, and then it kind of go back to him, because I'd get defenses. He's like, first thing he said is like, we're going to where like this. He basically knew, like can look at a map of LA and know where it is. He's like, oh, we're right by the Kaiser Hospital, blah blah blah. And I was like, oh, cool, awesome. And then he said, where are you from? I was like, NorCal. He's like, well, that's kind of a broad area. I was like, oh, do you know NorCal? He's like, well, try me. And I was like, well, I'm from this area. He's like, yeah, I've been there many times. I was like, oh, well, you're from here? He's like, no, I'm from Los Angeles. I'm an Angelino. And I was like, okay, cool. And then he's like, well, I was like, well, where did you grow up? He's like, do you know the Fairfax Farmers Market? And I was like, he's like, do you? And I was like, the one on Melrose. And he's like, yeah, that one. And then he's like, kind of quizzing me like, okay, like then I lived on Pico and La Cienega, and I'm like, yeah, I know that too. And I was like, why is he kind of like making like, I know Los Angeles. Okay?
He's calling you a fake.
He was he was like taking me through his life, but every single time he'd like, do you know it? Do you know where I grew up? Do you know? And I'm like, Anyways, and then got into like the story, and then it was sweet for like 15 minutes, and then we got the tension with the modem, and then it ended.
What a whirlwind of emotions that was.
Yeah, I even recorded some of our conversations.
You recorded it?
For like, because he was saying really sweet things, and I was like, I want to remember this, but I didn't want to be like, can I record you? Is that legal?
So how did were you like this, or was it like
no,
one of these?
it was like.
And this happened 10 years ago.
What? It happened
15 years ago.
Yeah, it was like, I just want to remember this convo.
I think 15, yeah.
It happened a while ago.
Yeah, 15 years ago.
Is that legal? Anyways.